All right, you guys, let's get this thing started. Welcome to our monthly State of the Industry call. I am broadcasting today live from our brand new market center in Eugene, Springfield, where we are having our official grand opening tomorrow, open to the public, welcoming all of our agents, our Xperience family, as well as the entire industry to come check out our new beautiful space here with our mastermind with Chris at 3 and our networking event at 4. So come check it out if you are available tomorrow. But what else do we have on the agenda today, you guys? I am so excited. We decided to change things up. The big conversation among your leadership team was, how can we best bring our family back together to re-engage as we re-emerge from our COVID cocoons? And the first thing that we decided is we wanted to change up the state of the industry in a big way, and that is to change it to a meeting instead of webinar, so that we can see all of your faces and we can start to get to know each other and re-engage in that way. So what else do we have today? We have two incredible guests. I am so excited to welcome them to the call today. We promise you on the State of the Industry that we are going to bring you the topics, tools, and real-time tactics that are relevant to your business right now, and that is exactly what we are going to do today. Now, before we bring our guests on to speak, the last 2 months, I have given you the economics and market stats in 30 seconds because I felt that we kept saying the same thing over and over and over again. However, I think it's time for us to pull up those stats, revisit our micro markets, and see what is happening in your local market, as well as what is happening across the state of Oregon, so that as we continue our conversations in masterminds, our best practices, and our wins and opportunities, we know what's going on and what we should be articulating to our clients. So let's do this thing. Where are we at? All right, you guys, we are going to start in Portland Metro. All right, you guys, well, shocker, no shocker here. Your inventory levels are still wildly low. However, you did have a little micro bump up to 0.8% or 0.8 months of market inventory. So congratulations. But the big thing on the board, and what we have talked about time and time again, that this isn't necessarily a lack of listings. Check out June numbers over May. You had a 8% increase in a single month, and you are up 17.5% in your new listings that hit the market in the month of June. Now, interestingly enough, our pending sales had a small dip in the month. We went down 3.3%, but still check out that year-to-date number. We're up 18.8%. So still lots of homes pending, up from last year. And I'm going to show you another stat here shortly that's going to even bring even more attention to that. Closed transactions, there's the big number. You are up 28.3%. June over June, 9.2% over May, and year to date up 25.6%. Now, for those of you in Portland Metro, I know you have been watching the prices, and check out the average sales price. $597 is our new average sales price. Our median at $521. That is a 24.5% increase in the average sales price in the Portland Metro area, and 19.8% increase in that median sales price. Now, some of our areas, check out your individual communities, because there is a huge spread in what that average sales price looks like. For example, if you're selling homes in Lake Oswego, West Linn, your average sales price has now reached over $800,000. So make sure that you're digging deep into what that local community looks like. Now, one of the biggest conversations that we've seen in our mastermind groups is days on market and what that looks like and what our buyers are doing and holding off. Are they making those offers right up front? Are we seeing those multiple offers, or are they waiting? Now, we have had a lot of conversations about buyers possibly waiting, but that's not what the market stats show. We are still down in our days on market, dropped to 21 days on market as opposed to 22 the previous month, and that is a 49% drop year over year. Now, I thought this was really interesting because we talk a lot about the sales that are happening. And in the Portland metro area, 6 months in a row, you have hit your highest transaction sales volume ever. So you can see in 2021, that red line, 6 months in a row, we have the highest number of transactions getting to the closing table. Meanwhile, the scary line of your days on market continues to plummet at that 21. All right, we're going to move south and we're going to get to Lane County. You guys, very, very, very similar story down here in Lane County. Once again, your listings are up 23.6%. Same trend in your pendings. We're down 6% for the month. However, check out that closed sales up 29.3%. So that's a huge number. Your average sales price, an unbelievable 27% increase in your average sales price. Same with your median sales price, and even less days on market, 18. However, in the Eugene market, I know our masterminds have been talking about our buyers waiting that extra 1 or 2 days to see if things are coming in. And that does seem to be the case down here in Eugene, where you had a small increase of your days on market, possibly indicating that we have some softening. Interesting graph, a little different than Portland Metro. In your closed sales year to date, you have beat the last 5 years only 2 out of 6 months. However, year to date, you are still up in your highest number of sales done in the last 5 years. And you can see your small bump in your days on market. All right, we are going to move down to Eugene. Congratulations, you guys have a robust 1.5 months of inventory on the market. So congratulations. Once again, you guys check out your June 2021 numbers over your June 2020 in all categories: closed sales, new listings, pending sales, all significantly up year over year. And of course, that average sales price jumping from $349,000 to $428,000 as your average sales price. And of course, what we're going to be talking about, the highest number of transactions sold in the Salem market since 2007. You are currently sitting at 5,525 sales year to date. That is a 12.61% increase of sales this year. And taking it all the way south to our Jackson and Josephine counties, you guys, once again, you guys have that 1.37 per months of inventory. In Jackson County, 1.6. You win the prize for the highest inventory levels in the state, where Eugene regained the title as the lowest inventory in the state. Your listing and sale, or your average sales price, increasing by 22.9%, and almost 29% in Josephine County, bringing you up to $434,000 of average sales price. So there you guys have it. Those are the detailed looks at our market statistics across the state of Oregon. So in summary, your 30-second review of your market stats in a nutshell: inventory levels are still way down, not fed by no listings, but by the insatiable buyer demand. Days on market are still low and competition is still high, and average sales prices are on the rise. So there you go. That was the detailed look and the economics in 30 seconds. Whew. All right. I'd love to hear in the chat box, how you guys are using these stats and applying it to your business, or if you are seeing something different in your micro market that we didn't cover today, because I want to make sure that every month we are bringing you the most relevant information for you guys to utilize in your business and also give you a wider scope of things. Now, with that being said, I am excited to introduce today's special guest speakers to our State of the Industry call. Like I promised, we had two incredible speakers who I specifically brought on so that they could give us an even broader scope of the markets, the trends, the opportunities, the challenges for our agents, not only here in Oregon, but throughout the Northwest region and throughout the country. I want to welcome to the call our regional leaders. First up, Mr. Chase Williams. Are you with us, Chase?
Thanks for having me.
So many of you guys have not had the opportunity to meet Chase in person. We have the blessing to work with him every day. He is our regional growth leader and helps support our leadership teams across the Northwest region. But I wanted to turn it over to you to tell us a little bit about your journey and how you came to find yourself to a leadership role in the Northwest region.
Well, that's a fun story. I'll try to keep it short. I started off my career in the corporate world and was kind of climbing the rungs of the corporate ladder, if you will, for about 10 years. I had an entrepreneurial itch that I needed to scratch. And so I ended up getting out and getting into real estate. And of course, everyone who knew me at the time thought that was the craziest decision I had made up until that point. Got into business with a good friend of mine, and we built a really large real estate team. So in 2014, we sold just under 400 houses for about 100 million. And that same year, I sold my half of that company to my business partner and had plans to move back to my hometown, which is Spokane, Coeur d'Alene area. I'm talking to you from Spokane this morning. And at that point, I met Mr. Bruce Hardie. I was kind of shaking the bushes around Spokane to find out what my next move was. I had intended to go and build another real estate team. I loved it, enjoyed pouring into other people, and building businesses is absolutely my passion. And Bruce presented me the opportunity to be a team leader for his market center. At first, the opportunity did not look like an opportunity, quite frankly, and I wasn't too excited about it. But in more conversation with Bruce and exploring what I was truly passionate about and the pathway that could possibly lead me down, I became the team leader in Spokane in November 1st of 2014. And since then, I've grown that market center with an incredible team from about 130 agents to 370. I launched a new market center in the Tri-Cities of Washington, of which I'm the OP. I've now become the OP here in Spokane, and I've gotten the opportunity to lead with Bruce, the Northwest region, as the growth director. So it's been quite the journey. That's, let's see, I've been in real estate full time now since early 2012. So it's been a wild ride. Sometimes it feels like it's been only a couple of years in the business, and other days it feels like it's been 30 years in the business. So it depends on which day you catch me. And I'm sure some of you can relate. But I never dreamed I'd be where I'm at. Five years ago, let's say, I never dreamed that I would have the opportunities that this company's provided me up to this point. And I wouldn't trade any of it. So it's an honor to be here.
I love that. When we talked yesterday, I was like, 2012, you're a baby in this industry. And you said, it feels like 30. And I said, wait, I feel like the last 3 years feel like 30.
Right? The last 3 months, maybe.
I love that. And so regional growth leader, you OP of 2 market centers with 539 agents. You've served on almost every single role along the way. I love that. Now, you mentioned a very, very special person who I'm excited to welcome to the call today, because you guys are going to be my duo in interviews today. I want to welcome to the call. Many of you know him. If you don't, get ready. This man is somebody who I have been proud to be in business with for years. Mr. Bruce Hardie, our Northwest Regional Director. and prepare yourself, born and raised in Australia. And I told him he better bring the bells, the whistles, the sparkles, and of course that amazing accent. Bruce, tell us a little bit about your journey to leadership here at KW.
Well, g'day, Leslie. G'day, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I should just take you on the road with me, Leslie. Give a nice intro, but don't set the bar too high, right? I like to keep that bar low so that I don't don't overpromise. Well, guys, I have the pleasure of being able to lead this region now. I don't know, it feels like 30 years. I've been in real estate since 1994, so 27 years. Started out as a realtor at Coldwell Banker in Spokane. New to the country, new to Spokane, new to real estate, and it actually took me 9 months to sell my first house. So if any of you took longer than that, let me know. You can do it in the chat box and we'll get together and have a drink and commiserate. It'll be, we can cry in our beer, so to speak. But I actually got to build my business up. I built a team, took it to the 7th level. I launched Keller Williams Spokane back in 2000, realizing that it was the best place for me to have my team. Didn't want to launch a market center, but nobody else would. So I had to do it. I've had the pleasure of being involved in the region now since 2009. Came in as an area director and took over the regional director role about 7 years ago. And by the way, just so you know, I mean, we currently as a region are now 7,891 associates in the Northwest. So the largest we've ever been. All of our numbers match, very similar along the same track as yours, in that what we're seeing is records being broken every single month in so many of the key metrics. So, and we'll talk a little bit about that as we go. But I've been involved with Keller Williams now for 21 years, and I couldn't imagine being anywhere else, to be quite frank. If I were not at Keller Williams, I think I'd be out of real estate.
I love it. Now, I brought these gentlemen on the call because in a normal year, you would get to see them at Mega Camp and Family Reunion, at some of our big mastery events, and it's been a while since we got to see your faces. So I'm excited to have you guys on the call. I'm excited that you get to see the faces of so many of our family members. So let's get into it. I just went deep dive into our local market trends, right? And then gave a summary there at the end. You guys have the opportunity to not only see what's happening in our market centers and our markets, but you get to see what's happening across the Northwest region, and which includes Oregon, Washington, Idaho, and Alaska, as well as exposure to a national perspective. Tell us a little bit about your opinion on how our local markets are comparing on a broader scope.
You want to start, Chase? Or you or me?
Happy to. I mean, a lot of similarities, frankly, both regionally and nationally, right? And I love, Leslie, thank you for pointing out that in a lot of our markets, even though the conversation is around low inventory, that's actually not the case in a lot of the markets. Now, maybe in some. So it's always important to look at that localized data, because no matter what the regional numbers show, no matter what the national numbers show, and even no matter what the experience numbers show, what's happening in your local market is what you should be the expert on. However, what we're seeing in a lot of those markets is exactly what you described. The inventory is not actually low. It's just moving so quickly, it feels low. And so I saw someone post in the chat box, which I thought was brilliant. Right there, the sellers that are on the fence about being able to find another property should know that there's actually more properties coming to market than last year. So yes, you do need a powerful professional agent to make sure that they're getting those properties in front of someone like that in a timely manner. But that's exactly kind of what we're seeing. And we're also seeing the drive up of average price point. I mean, to levels that are, I don't want to say concerning, but maybe a little, right? It's not sustainable. Maybe that's a better way of putting it, right? We get paid on the volume, and so we love it when prices go up. And we all, if we're being honest, know that 25+% appreciation year over year is not sustainable. So we want to keep an eye on that, right? Rather than just being concerned. It's like, well, how do we react or act accordingly? And, so I'm encouraging a lot of our partners to pay attention to the number of units as much or more than they are the volume, because that's a better indicator of the growth of their business potentially. So a lot of similarities. I wouldn't notice anything. I wouldn't notice any drastic differences from what you shared there, Leslie, to be frank. I don't know about you, Bruce. Did you see anything?
Yeah, I think you said a couple of really important things there, Chase. One is it isn't really a lack of inventory. That's an absolute truth. And we've got to make sure that we take that vernacular out of our head. The inventory is there. Guys, you need to understand that closed units in the Northwest region are up 23.4%. Now, you don't close units unless you're taking the listings, right? The listings have got to be taken. Shannon asked a question, she'd like to see stats on price reductions. And as you said, Chase, this increase in average sales price is not sustainable. I mean, at some point it's going to change. And I think that one of the things that you've got to be aware of, whenever you're listing property, you need to price your inventory ahead of the market. So if the market's going up, you price it ahead and the market catches you. If the market starts to go down, you need to price it ahead of the market as well. Otherwise, you get left high and dry. And guys, I will tell you, we're starting, I believe, we're beginning to see signs that the market is hitting its peak. And why I say that is, if you think about real estate in general, it's supply and demand, and it's based on what people can afford. Now, incomes have gone up, but housing prices have gone up dramatically higher. Would you agree with that? And what I need you to understand is that the gap between income and house prices, when that gap gets so big, now buyers start to tap out and they say, you know what, I'm done. I'm going to wait. And when that happens, sellers who have to sell will have to reduce their price in order to close that gap so people can afford to buy. And I believe we're starting to see that where sellers who've been testing the market and getting what they're asking for are not doing that in all markets now. So keep an eye on those numbers. And as Chase said, you need to be the local real estate expert. You need to know your numbers locally, because it really doesn't matter what's going on the national level. For example, we could give you the national numbers, even the Northwest region numbers, and that would be like saying that the average temperature in the United States today is 75 degrees. Well, that has no relevance for what you're experiencing. Would you agree? So knowing your numbers and understanding the markets are cyclical, and it cannot continue to go. It's not sustainable. And I'm not looking to bum you out, but I'm just saying, just be aware. That's all.
And Bruce, I'm going to dig a little deeper, because I see Jolene's question in the boxes is, clearly we don't have a crystal ball in real estate, but we can use trends and historical data to at least give us some indication. I think buyer fatigue is a real thing that's happening out there. And you use that word, it's not sustainable. Do you foresee that this is going to be more of a softening of prices, or are we going to be looking at actually a reduction of prices and value in the future?
Yeah, I don't see us seeing a massive reduction, but what I do see is a leveling out in the playing field. See, one of the things that happened, and for those of you who've been in the business, I mean, I see John Hatch there sitting on the golf course, but hey, John, but for those of us who were around during 2008 through 2010, I mean, that was a catastrophic shift in the market, and it was due to fundamentals right around mortgages. We're not going to see the same thing this next time around. And in fact, in 2008 to 2010, so many builders, particularly the smaller builders, went broke that they got out of the business and they didn't come back. So since 2010, we've been averaging a deficit of new homes being built each year of about 500,000 homes a year. Well, if you extrapolate that out, you understand that we're about 5.5 million homes shy of what we actually need to house our society. So, guys, what we'll see, I believe, is we're going to see this craziness around bidding wars and increased pricing, because that activity will slow down a little bit, and then we'll see prices level, and there'll be a high level. So yeah, I'm very optimistic about the future of our industry, without a doubt.
I love that. Let's transition and talk a little bit about some of the trends and opportunities that we're seeing. And Chase, the two of you guys run an incredible podcast called The Real Look. We're going to drop that link into the chat box so that you guys can listen to Bruce and Chase on a regular basis, as well as top agents across the region and the country. But you recently talked, and I know you're not a lender, but you talked about the loan applications dropping. So tell us a little bit about what's going on out there in the lending world.
Yeah, I thank you for bringing that up. I think it's some validation to what Bruce described as buyer fatigue, right? We've had low rates for a long time now, actually, relatively speaking, but prices have continued to, go up and up and up and up. So there's buyers that are just tapping out and saying, regardless of the rate, I don't want to pay that, right? That's happening. And I think it's just an indication of that, potentially that demand starting to slow, right? That was actually with rates coming down. The rates came down a little bit and the applications still came down. Typically, we would think when the rates come down, applications would go up. And that was also the same thing for refinance applications. So it was both for new mortgage and refinance in the same week. It's the first time that they were the lowest applications we'd seen since pre-pandemic or early 2020. Again, an indication that a bunch of people that wanted to take advantage of rates have already refinanced, right? So there's not a lot of wiggle room to do that again. And there's a tail end of that opportunity. And folks are just starting to worry about the affordability of homes in certain markets.
And here's a question, because this is something that came up on some of our masterminds is, and by the way, guys, I did not prep Bruce and Chase we are completely candid today and off the cuff. So they have no idea what's coming at them. Do you think any of that had to do with seasonality? Because this is something that's come up in some of our masterminds is the concept of, is seasonality playing a factor, or is the fact that Oregon just reopened our doors and everybody's out vacationing and that's happening across the country? Could that be playing a factor in some of these changes in our market too?
I think so. We've talked about the same thing here in Spokane. And if you think about, summer coming and the weather getting warm, exceptionally warm in some of our markets, but the reality is, even though people would typically go on vacation this time of year, a lot of them did not last year. So there's this, and you mentioned Oregon opening back up. There's this pent up, like, hey, we canceled our vacation last year, so we're definitely going on it this year, and people kind of breaking out and taking advantage of that. It's yet to be seen, right? We need a little more time, I believe, to determine whether it was a short-term seasonality bump or there's a shift happening in the market. And I think we want to be prepared for either.
Yeah, I would say interest as well, Leslie. One is there is a certain cohort in this country, particularly those people in the financial services who have had the best year of their life, right, during COVID in terms of financially. I'm the OP in Central Oregon as well, in Bend. And what's fascinating to me, the vast majority of home sales over $1 million are cash, right? People are coming in with loads of cash. So there is that opportunity as well. So understand that that's the case. And I see in here in the question, Joe Lynn was asking, so what do you say to buyers who are tapping out, right? And wanting to wait? You've got to have this conversation. You've got to understand what's going on in the mortgage market, right? And you understand a 1% bump in interest rates lowers the buying power of every single buyer, right? We have historic low interest rates. They are not sustainable either. They cannot stay down there, because if we do, you understand that if we actually do have a run up in inflation, and again, there's a lot of arguments on both sides of this equation, then what the Fed has no tools to deal with that. So we're going to see a gradual increase in interest rates. And by the way, if you want to know where interest rates are going, watch the 10-year Treasury bill and look at the yields. And right now, what's fascinating is the yields are going up. Now, when the yields go up, that means the interest rates go down. And by the way, what that means is people are saying, okay, I'm going to hedge my bet and I'm going to put more money into treasuries because those are safer. And so we're seeing that actually happening and play out right now. So again, watching what's going on with the pricing, and guys, go out and find the inventory. You know, I don't know if you all at your team meetings have wants and needs, but I would be, whatever people are saying they're looking for, I would just go out and find that, and I would list it for them. So I think there's a massive opportunity in this market.
You know, Bruce, I have always said that, and how I've always coached and taught all of my agents is there's no good market, there's no bad market, there's just the market. And our job as a professional is to find the opportunities that exist in any market.
Yep.
So
well,
let's
can I just add to that, Leslie? And that is, you know, and I'm going to ask each and every one of you on this Zoom is, if in the next 12 months in your marketplace, there were only a total of 200 transactions, would you say that was a good market or a bad market? Put in the chat, good or bad? If only 200 transactions closed in your market.
They're scared. There we go. Now they're coming in.
Wow, that would be neutral. Doesn't matter. Bad. But let me ask you a second question. If you did all 200 transactions, would you care? Right? As you said, Leslie, the market's the market. And by the way, and I guarantee you, in any market you were in, there is more business there than you can do. Right? This is not about you getting your fair share. This is about you getting your unfair share of the market.
And it's always there. I've been having this conversation, and I hope this doesn't come across too direct, but with some of my listing agents here in Spokane, as I'm watching a handful of wholesalers do incredible things here in the market, I keep telling my listing agents, I'm like, they're doing your job. They're finding listings and then they're wholesaling them, right? Like, that's actually your job if you're a listing agent. So don't tell me that they're not out there, right? But that requires activity and effort. And so that it's always there, just as Bruce pointed out. If you want it, it's there. You've got to go and do the hard work to find it.
And Bruce, way to change the way we look at things, and the things we look at change, right? Like that was a really powerful question. If you got all 200, would you care?
Oh, exactly.
Now, as things are changing, we're also seeing other opportunities emerge. And Bruce, I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about like some of the changes to Ginnie Mae. Like we've seen loan extension of loan terms. We have seen opportunities come forth for segments of our buyer population. Tell us a little bit about some of those trends that we're starting to see come through.
Yeah, so if you think about affordability, right? I mean, right now, the only things that we can change with regards to whether a property is affordable or not is we either have to lower the price or we have to lower the interest rate. There is a third alternative, and Ginnie Mae is actually looking at it, and that is extending the term. So as part of their program to try and keep people in their homes, they are currently looking at a 40-year mortgage, right, as a way to lower the monthly payment so that people can stay in their homes. Now, it looks pretty solid that this is going to happen. But so if they do this to keep people in their homes, and what you need to understand is that they have found a secondary market to buy these 40-year mortgages. So I will guarantee you that we will start to see that as a loan product going forward. So just keep an eye on that, because that will be a big deal. Secondly, another big trend that's happening is HUD has committed to helping 3 million people of color get into homes that have not been able to do that. And that is in the next 9 years, between now and 2030. And by the way, there's over 100 different associations, including NAR, National Home Builders, all of these major home ownership organizations have gotten behind this. And it's going to show up in 3 ways. There's going to be counseling, home ownership counseling. There are going to be down payment, targeted down payment specific options. And then the third one is going to be in the form of rezoning and looking at how legislatively we can actually make housing more affordable. So I think this is a wonderful deal. You know, I've made all of your leadership do a book club around a book called The Color of Law, which has been truly astounding to see how institutionally we have marginalized and redlined our community. And so I think this is really, really, really great news.
Yeah, and I would add, Bruce, that 40-year, it's starting out as a loan modification, but as you mentioned, I have no doubt it'll turn into a 40-year option for new mortgage at some point. Those mortgages are already being backed by investors, professional investors. And so kind of back to Jolen's point, that shows a very high level of confidence in the long-term value of real estate, right? That's something we could point buyers that have a little buyer fatigue around short-term pricing back to, right? What's your ultimate goal? And if you're concerned about the prices today, what do you think they'll look like in 20, 30, 40 years from now? Because if there's investors, professional investors, very smart people willing to back a 40-year mortgage, there's a lot of confidence that the home's going to be worth a lot more in 40 years, right?
Chase, that's exactly what I was thinking is what a testament to the confidence of the investment of real estate. And it's not something that is foreign, right? Like we see the same thing happen in cars, right? Like where we went from 60 to 72 and they're extending those terms to make it more affordable and more accessible. And Bruce, I love the fact that you're telling us some about the initiatives that are coming forth to make housing more accessible to individuals, whether that's the much needed legal reform or education or accessibility, or really looking at mortgages in a responsible way to make them accessible to the consumer.
Yeah, there's only debate in pricing in the short term. There's zero debate in our industry in the long-term appreciation of real estate.
No.
None. I've never heard any of it. Have you guys? It's all about what's going to happen in the short term, right? And we don't have a crystal ball around that. We kind of do have a crystal ball around the long-term appreciation of real estate, right? We've got a lot of data behind that.
Well, and I would add that along with the podcast that we do each week, we are on our website, the regional website. And guys, I really want to encourage you to use it as a resource, because we're going out and we're bringing in all the information that's going on, all the activity in the market, and we're putting it all there for you to be able to go and use. And as I mentioned, you need to be the real estate expert. So what we know is that the average appreciation of real estate since basically the 1940s has been an average of 4%. So you can look at that trend line, as Chase says. I mean, there's the crystal ball. You get this 4% trend line. Now, what happened back in the early 2000s, 2005, 6, 7, was home appreciation actually exceeded that 4% trend line for 3 or 4 years. And then, of course, we had a correction where now it was way below. And it looked like that we wouldn't get back to that trend line. And guess what? We've actually, for the first time, exceeded that trend line yet again. So understand what's going on in the market. I agree with Chase. Too many people are looking at the short term and not the long term. You know, Gary Keller says, you know, if you buy a piece of real estate, don't ever sell it, right? Because it will continue to go up in value. But if you're trying to time the market, it's no different than being a day trader. If you're trying to time the stock market, you will get burned. 80% of day traders, by the way, lose money.
Mm. So let's, Chase, I want to dig a little deeper. You hit on something on the podcast the other day that, you know, depending on what side of the spectrum you're on in this, is let's talk about forbearance, right? Let's talk about what's going to happen as they've continued to extend this. They've kicked that can down the road. We're coming to the end of that. Tell us a little bit about what's happening there and what we should expect.
Well, we're actually seeing a lot of listing opportunities come from folks in forbearance. And the good news for a lot of them, if they don't have another way to catch back up, is the fact that the appreciation of their home has been tremendous in the last year, right? In most of our markets. So again, I think that the professional listing agent is having those conversations with everyone in forbearance, right? And by the way, not just to potentially create a piece of inventory, that's the result of helping someone with a need, right? Having that conversation and being the professional that gives them all of their options for getting out of forbearance. And I would encourage you to partner with a local lender or a local expert on what all of their options are, because, you know, selling is just one. But I think that as long as prices continue to go up or hold, that will be a legitimate fix for some of those folks that aren't otherwise able to come current on their mortgage. It'll be interesting to see too what government decisions are made around support, right? We're seeing a lot of that continue to happen and evolve almost on a daily basis. So it's really hard to predict where government might step in and support there. But it's definitely a concern. It's definitely a concern. There's always a concern that when you hold back the river for so long with whatever the dam is, whether that's a government decision or whatever, that at some point you got to pay the piper. So it's something we want to pay attention to very closely.
Well, sorry, Leslie, we got to interview Cindy Kerrigan and Doc Nicholson a couple of weeks ago. And it was very interesting. Doc made a very interesting comment about getting into the short sale, the REO business. And that is that if you want to be able to do that when that market shows up, you need to start that now, right? It's about the relationship. So you go looking for asset managers and building those relationships now so that you have that opportunity when the market shows up. Because when the market shows up, it's already too late. Because those people who've gotten after it will have those relationships locked up and they'll have that business.
Bruce, I think that's great. Like finding the opportunity. And I believe what he said is if that is something you want to build into your business plan, you really need to start 2 years in advance, right? Like building those relationships, getting that skill set in place. We saw it last time in the last recession, where by the time most people caught on to how to process a short sale, there were people who had it dialed in and had it mastered and could take care of their clients. But one of the things, Chase, like I would say is for those consumers that are sitting around waiting for the great surge of REO properties, you better be cautious, because as Chase said, most of these people are being able to sell. So we're seeing that the drop in the number of forbearance because they can sell in the regular market with the option of a more affordable loan modification of 40 years and these interest rates. Many of them have been able to resolve their challenges or just bring their loan current during this time. So it will be interesting to see what happens with that. And at the same time, be cautious if you're sitting around waiting for the great REO surge.
Yeah, I would say be more than cautious if you're sitting around waiting for anything. That's not the pathway to success in this business.
You know, I was reflecting on a quote from Mark King, and he said, the market of now is based on speed. The market that we're moving to is going to be based on skill.
100%.
So let's talk about that. Bruce, in your opinion, what is the biggest opportunity on the board right now for real estate professionals that they can really put into their business?
Yeah, you have to build and own your database. It is the number one thing that will insulate you against any shifts in the marketplace. You know, we're seeing this happen, play out now, right? We talk about whoever owns the lead owns the business, right? And you may or may not all be aware, but Dave Ramsey and his organization decided to sever their relationship with any EXP agents because they didn't like the way that they were building their business. Now, if you were a ELP for Dave Ramsey, and all of a sudden now you're told you don't get any more leads because of the company you're at, you're not in control of your business at that point. And again, this happened just a week or so ago. Zillow has changed the criteria for how they actually award the best of Zillow designation to agents. It used to be based on reviews, and what they're now doing is they're lowering the amount of influence on that best of award, so to speak, on reviews, and more on your willingness to do business with Zillow. So basically, they're going to raise the cost of what it costs you to play the game with them. Guys, you have to own your database. The only thing you can do is be in relationship with more people and touch them consistently. And I know that sounds so basic, but it's the truth. And, you know, I don't know about anybody else, but I will tell you that this market, when I say this market, I'm referring to the stock market, right now feels really frothy to me. And what I mean by that is there's a lot going on. I mean, is there anybody here who would recommend today that you buy stock in AMC movie theaters? No, I mean, you understand that the run up in the stock price there is just based on fluff. I mean, there's nothing there and when people tell you that the fundamentals don't matter, that is a sign that change is about to happen. Guys, the fundamentals matter. Businesses need to make a profit. If they don't make a profit, they don't stay around, right? The fundamentals of our industry are the fundamentals. And so mastering those fundamentals. And I would say, Leslie, if ever there was a time to dust off your copy of Shift, it's now. We need to reread that. And by the way, you know what? If the market shifts in 3 years, if you do what's in that book, you'll be more profitable over the next 3 years than you would be if you don't.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Bruce. I wrote down the exact same thing. Be in control of your lead flow. Make sure that you're a lead generator, not a lead receiver. And frankly, that you can point to something that you do every single day that you're certain brings you business, rather than sitting by the phone waiting for it to ring. That doesn't work. It sometimes does in the market we've seen in the last couple of years. That's the problem. It reinforces bad habits for us realtors. But we know that the real habit is lead generating every day. And I would say the second thing in terms of opportunity is, and we hear this, Bruce, every single week when we interview one of our top producers in the region, is their understanding and commitment to the importance of the customer experience, the client experience that they're delivering. What a great name, Xperience, to be part of, right? It really does matter. And you think sometimes these realtors and these teams that do a lot of transactions and units would be transactionally based, and they're not. They're just delivering an incredible customer experience at scale. And so you can do that at any scale. And it really does matter. It's important to making sure that you're building a moat around your data bank, as Leslie calls it. That customer experience will keep people coming back and referring you for a long time if you can deliver that consistently.
And again, Chase, another thing that we hear consistently through these interviews with top producers is their commitment to coaching, right? To being in a coaching relationship. Because again, as you change, having somebody hold you accountable to do the things that you need to do in order to achieve what you want to achieve becomes a big piece of the success that people experience. So I would encourage people to look at that as well.
I love that. So I'm going to repeat a couple of things there. It's about the relationship, guys. It's about the relationship. Dust off that copy of Shift. And if you don't know what we're talking about, get a copy of Shift. Thank you, Katie Hardman, for dropping a link to the Shift book in the chat box so you guys all have a copy. If you're looking for a hard copy, please see your leadership team. We can help get one in your hands today. It is an incredible resource, right? Right after the MREA, the Shift is that next resource that you should be tapping into. So we talked about opportunity. We talked about this. I'm going to throw this at you, Bruce. We talked about that's the biggest opportunity for the real estate business. What's the biggest opportunity right now for building wealth?
You know, unfortunately, a lot of our people in the industry don't understand the opportunity that is before them, and that is real estate. And what I mean by that is, you understand, if we all worked at the Gap, we'd all have an opportunity to get cheap jeans, wouldn't we? We'd get the employee discount. Guys, to build wealth in our industry, you have to buy, own, and sell real estate, not just broker it. And so again, I'm going to refer to another book, Leslie, and that is the MREI, the Millionaire Real Estate Investor, the Blue Book. And guys, I want you to understand that Gary wrote that book not for you to give to your clients, although you can, and it'll be very helpful to your clients. He wrote that book for you. Mm-hmm. See, we have a goal in our company, and that goal is that 10% of our agents will become millionaires. And one of the fastest paths to that is through the buying, owning, holding, flipping, selling of real estate. So that's what that book's about. And I just want to encourage people to look at that and say, okay, this is what I do for a living. You know, I don't know about you guys, but I would have clients say, well, Bruce, if you find a really good deal, call me. And I'm like, no, if I find a really good deal, I'm going to buy it. If I don't want to buy it, then I'll call you. Okay, Jim? Yep. So yeah, guys, I mean, real estate, look at real estate. You need to be an expert. You are an expert on your market. You know what a good deal is because you see everything. So I would say lean into that. And Leslie, I know we're running out of time, but I just want to put a plug in for Mega Camp. And so guys, this has been a tough year and a half, right? We've not get to hang out with each other. And I would tell you at Family Reunion and Mega Camp, we are one of the largest regions that show up at those events. And what I've come to learn is one, we all like each other and we like to see each other. Two, you understand that people have lived before you. Whatever it is you want to accomplish, somebody has probably already done it. And our opportunity to get together and learn from each other is massively powerful. So because of the COVID restrictions in Austin this year, they've limited Mega Camp to 5,000 people in person. So invitations have gone out to the top 5,000 agents. So what we're doing is we're hosting Mega Camp in Las Vegas in August. And I say, oh my gosh, it's hot in Las Vegas in August. Well, it is, but it's not in the hotel. We are going to be at the Mirage, and included in the registration there, you will get the digital version. So you'll be able to come back, watch all the 31 breakout sessions that they are recording right now. And we will be watching the live session live during Mega Camp, and which, by the way, is really no different unless you're in the front row. You're all watching screens anyway at Mega Camp. So, and then we're going to actually have live mastermind breakout sessions where we get to work together, and we're going to have a luxury track. We're going to have a commercial track. We're also going to have lead generation, and based on what our people are telling us what they want, we're going to have these breakout sessions. In addition, we've got numerous social events. We have a reception on the 23rd. We've got lunch, all lunches are included. We've got a power hour, happy hour. So, I mean, there is a lot going on. And if you're looking to just sharpen your saw, so to speak, this would be a great opportunity for you.
I love that. And Bruce, thank you so much for drawing attention to that. So once again, you guys, limited capacity in Austin. So we wanted to make sure that everybody got to participate at the highest possible level. For those of you who are still looking for the in-person experience, your leadership teams will be heading to Las Vegas. So we are hoping that you will join us there, real life and in person, so that you can participate in those masterminds. And then of course, for those of you who are unable to travel or not yet comfortable traveling to a destination like that, you can still get the full digital version of the Mega Camp experience. And we've included all those links in the chat box. Check out the wrap-up email today. We'll make sure that you have everything. But please, please, please let your leadership team know right away. If you are interested in the Vegas experience, we can help you get set up with rooms and the whole experience. All right, gentlemen, you crushed it. I mean, we covered it all. I told you I'd make it easy on you. I always do, right? You guys, I want to thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to our leadership team who was working diligently on the back end to make sure this happened today. Moving forward, we will be continuing this format for the state of the industry so we can continue to put names with faces and get to know our family across the network. Once again, for those of you who are available tomorrow at 3 o'clock, come visit us in our brand new market center in Eugene for our live mastermind with Chris Suarez. And then at 4 o'clock, our networking event. All right, you guys, Bruce, Chase, thank you, thank you, thank you. We appreciate you so much. Thank you to everybody who joined us today, and have a powerful day.
Thanks, Leslie. Miss you guys.
See you all. See you in
Take care.
Vegas.